Hey, thanks for tuning in. We are Living Fit, your trainer's trainer. We not only have education courses for trainers to upgrade their game, but we have full on follow along programs, workouts, exercise breakdowns, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for you to reach your fitness goals. Now, enjoy the show. What's going on, everybody? Aaron Guyett, Master Coach and Education Director with Living.Fit. And this is the LivingFit Show. And we are honored and incredibly graced by basically a sexier version of Aquaman. So Scott Viala, he's up there in British Columbia. He's swinging kettlebells. He's swinging maces. He's throwing barbells up over his head, doing weightlifting. And now we get to pick his brain and learn about his story. So Scott, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yes, no problem.
Yeah. How'd you get into this thing called fitness?
Fitness? Well, I've been training people. I've been a personal trainer for over 15 years. But I started training people when I was 15. So when I was in high school, I actually started training basically anybody that I could. And then doing like programs for people. I would read like Muscle Mag International. Arnold had the encyclopedia. So I would literally just scour those and then put programs together for my friends, for literally anybody that would, want to train.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then I noticed, so 15 years old, that's an early start.
Yeah.
I thought I was getting an early start at 18 years old, but 15 years old, you got some experience then, which is helpful to take some of that education and then, but applied education, right? Take some of that knowledge, applying the knowledge. That's, for sure, I think that's the harder part, right?
100%, yeah. And like cool kind of thing, like right from 15, like I knew this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to help people. I wanted to do something in the fitness industry. Like literally, like there's no other path that I really wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I noticed you've got some maybe unconventional tools or eclectic coursework under your belt, as well as obviously some more traditional. And you want to talk a little bit about, so we'll jump into the experiential stuff. I think that'll be important, but talk a little bit about education and why you've chosen the education path that you've chosen.
Yeah, for sure. So like the unconventional training, like the steel maces, kettlebells, I just wanted something a little bit different. And like, that is when I first saw them, it was in MadFit magazine, like, I don't even know, maybe 10 years ago, something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing some of the stuff, and then it was Mark, I forget his last name, Mark DeGrasse. I remember seeing him, and then I looked him up on YouTube, and I seen him swinging maces, and I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. And like I'd been training with kettlebells a little bit, but then like some of the stuff that I'd see them do, I'm like, that is amazing. I got to learn how to do this.
Yeah, so interesting story. So our Marcus Martinez, who teaches the kettlebell, so they were actually high school friends. Mark and Marcus were actually high school friends. Yeah, and since they've grown apart and just because of location and different paths and stuff like that. But yeah, it's pretty interesting. And I got to be a little bit of a contributor to that magazine, MadFit magazine. Way back in the day. So I was there in the early stages as well, which is pretty rad.
Oh, sweet. Nice. Cool, man.
And so then obviously weightlifting, I think that's, a very common thread that you'll see not only through CrossFit, which has become more commonplace, but even, just in the strength coach realm, coaches of college athletes and athletic directors and stuff, like weightlifting tends to be a staple, right, in those environments. And I think it's starting to change a little bit with the advance of some of these other tools and the knowledge behind the tools. So walk me through, is that kind of where you started, or is that something that you ventured into a little bit later? Or?
So a little bit later. So originally I did the very first certification. So it's a Canadian certification, CanFit Pro it's called. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. So that was the very first thing I got, certified. So I was able to get insurances, things like that. Then I started working out of a gym. And then, I was doing more or less just kind of, I guess, bodybuilding training, maybe a little bit of powerlifting training with clients. Then I just wanted to change things up a little bit. I was just getting a little bit bored with it. It didn't feel like me. So I actually reached out to Jonathan Chamberg. So he's in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. So he's a strength and conditioning coach he was strength and conditioning coach for George St. Pierre. So like I seen what he was doing, and I really wanted to learn more strength and conditioning opposed to just regular weightlifting, right? So I reached out to him, and he invited me to actually come and train with him in Montreal. So booked a trip down there, stayed down there for a couple weeks. So trained with him, trained alongside GSP, a few of his people like that. And I learned so much in the time that I spent just watching him train his clients, training with him, and everything like that. That was an absolute game changer. Like I look back at that time, I learned more in that couple week span than honestly any type of certification, anything I've ever done in my life. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was amazing. And then, sorry, not to interrupt, but like that's also what led me to training with kettlebells for the first time too. Because in Saskatchewan, where you originally from, there was no kettlebells to be found, 15 plus years ago. So it was a pretty cool, really cool kickstart right there from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting, how much. Or how many kinesthetic, obviously most trainers that I've taught or learned from, teachers or whatever, we're all visual kinesthetic. We tend to be visual kinesthetic, and I would say even more kinesthetic than visual kinesthetic. And it just makes sense because this is the thing that we do. We like to move. And so, how amazing would that be to get to actually move and learn and by doing, right? As opposed to reading a book and listening to a lecture and then having to take a test, like stab me in the eye with a pin,
I'll always look back at that, like my whole career, and look back at that as like being the biggest catalyst to everything right there.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so you've been able to take that experience and then sort of expand on it with all these other certifications that, saw like Onnit was in there. And obviously Marcus and I, we taught for Onnit for an Onnit Academy for a long time. And then, LivingFit was on there as well. And we talked earlier, you had the kettlebell fundamentals and advanced both, which is rad. Yes, and, I think that I would love to get your feedback on the fundamentals and advanced for the battle ropes. So, but let's take this. Okay, now, so you've got this experience, you've got this education, and now you're kind of showcasing it to your client. Do you have a particular type of client, or are you seeing like from youths all the way to grannies and everything in between, or how does that sort of get walked out in your training?
So, then I was predominantly just training like martial artist type people that do jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai. That is predominantly what I was training before. But now I train everybody under the sun. Like right now I have clients that are, they used to be professional hockey players. I have people that are housewives, literally anything you can imagine. I train right now. And it is really cool to help like every walk of life and just get them feeling better, moving better, and just have them feel powerful,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so is this predominantly one-on-one or is it typically, are you doing small groups?
So like today I've already done 8 sessions already today. So far it's all been one-on-one today. Then after we're done here, I have a private small group. And then I got another 2 one-on-ones. So pretty stacked schedule, but a little bit of both. Again, I do a lot of one-on-ones, but with COVID and stuff like that in BC here where I'm from, it's been so stop-start with group training. So like literally I get my group training running, 2 weeks later it's shut down for 2 weeks, then it's back up and down. I actually just started back up 2 weeks ago. It had been shut down for almost a month or so. So group training, it's been great, but it's been so sporadic the last year and a half.
So then if I'm hearing that right, you've been able to continue to do one-on-one training. And then are you doing some sort of virtual or online thing? Or are you sending them programming or something?
I'm very fortunate that I have a really loyal customer base here. And I've been able to go through this whole time and just do one-on-one trainings. And then when the group training comes back up, I have just people that want to come in and join in on that. So I built a pretty good reputation here in Kelowna, BC. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. So about a year, it's been a year and a half ago. I actually opened up my own gym here. So I have my own private training facility here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, and the pictures and the videos on Instagram looks pretty amazing. How you've set it up and how it looks. Yeah, I love it. So so to help, because as us USA citizens, we don't even know the geography of our own states, right? Let alone the geography of Canada. Yeah, right? So I know where BC is just because I've had a bit of a love affair just growing up in North Idaho and then going up to Nelson, BC.
Yeah,
and then being over in Vancouver is just epic and beautiful. And most people kind of understand, okay, Vancouver's on the left side, Toronto's over on the right side with Canada. So then where are you at on obviously British Columbia, you're the far left province. So where at in?
Yeah. So closest for most people would be to Vancouver. Vancouver is about a 3.5 hour drive from where I currently live.
Okay. And are they driving south then? Or are they driving east or
east? Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So does that make you about halfway between Nelson and Vancouver?
Nelson
is that right?
Probably about an hour and a half away from where I am right now. Yeah. Yeah. So okay. I actually went to Nelson about 2-3 weeks ago. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful place. Cool. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know. I was just, I was 16, 17, 18 years old, just skating their little skate park and, being a derelict at that time in my life. So I don't know. I think we went off somewhere and chopped down a tree and then we tried to find Kokanee Peak and hike that and snowboard that.
Yeah. Nice,
yes. All that good stuff. Yeah. Okay. So then that's your brick and mortar. That's kind of where you're at. But you are, you do have sort of this growing following online, through Instagram. And then I know that you offer basically like an e-guide. Talk me through. So what is this e-guide? What does it do? How is it helping people with kettlebells?
Yeah, for sure. I have quite a few different things out there right now. So the e-guide. So I'm partnered with Set for Set right now. So they really help take their platform, and then I'm able to put all my information out there. So I have an 8-week Kettlebell E guide. So that covers literally everything. So there's a 8-week program in there, but it's also all follow along as well too. So there is about 50 different exercises in that. And then every single exercise, there's a video demonstration for it. And then I have a full section on recovery in there, a little bit on nutrition. So the e-guide really covers the basis for anyone, whether you want to just jump into kettlebell training for the first time or if you are experienced. So it's kind of it is the great training program, I believe, for everybody, honestly.
Awesome. Yeah. And so Set for Set, then I know that they produce some really good steel maces.
Yeah, so they have steel maces.
And they have clubs too?
Or go ahead, sorry.
Oh, do they have clubs as well?
They actually just released kettlebells about 6 months ago. Yeah, so they have their own line of kettlebells as well too.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
Yeah,
Very cool. And so you've got the one e-guide, or do you have a couple of e-guides then? And this is just the latest
e-guide? Yeah, so that
e-guide?
one is the one e-guide, but then we also do a thing. It's called Set for Set 5. So what we do with that, it's basically 5 live workouts that I have pre-recorded, and then people pay $10 or whatever it is, and then they get to follow along with those 10 workouts. So I have one of those for steel mace training, kettlebell training, and I'm actually working on one for resistant bands right now too.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah. So we're really starting to build a little bit more online stuff other than just what you see on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I've talked about this a couple of times on the show with a couple of different people. And then we have like a level 4, which basically helps you level up your network and then helps you level up your education, whether you're a trainer, an education director, a gym owner. We have a bunch of different people in that. And we were able to learn super fast and implement super fast during COVID on like how can we still keep clients and how can we keep people moving? And, what are some ways, give me the hoops and how can we kind of jump through them? And so, yeah, it sounds like basically you're offering, something for each of the tools, And I think it's incredibly important to have an online presence as well as, an in-person, especially if you have a brick and mortar. Of course, you have to have that in person,
for sure,
right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not using I guess unless the brick and mortar is being used only to shoot the videos that you're putting out there. But yeah, if you don't have at least those two business models kind of set up and in place, it's going to be really difficult for you to survive, especially now considering that there's this thing that is COVID that creates all sorts of different hoops that we have to jump through as trainers and gym owners.
So much uncertainty. You never know what the next week is going to bring, honestly. So you got to be kind of ready for anything, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, and the thing is, like, people still want to be healthy. They still want to feel good. They still want to move better. They still want to look good. It's those things haven't gone away. It's just the ways in which we've done them have adjusted a little bit. And some things have come back and it's totally the same, same.
For sure.
But then there's a lot of other things that, well, it's not really the same. Or, in your situation in British Columbia, it's like, yeah, I may get shut down again. I have to be aware of that. And so then how am I going to be able to, overcome that obstacle and still provide for my customer and client? Yeah, that's pretty rad.
Yeah.
So is there anything that so what's your facility called up there?
Viala Training. So just my last name, Viala, and then training. Yeah.
Awesome. So is there anything that you're providing that's just from Viala Training, or is it going to is the online stuff always going to tend to partner with Set for Set?
I see how things are going. Honestly, like right now, I have a really good relationship with them. They treat me really well for a bunch of different things. So I'm very happy to be partnered with them. Great company. So as of right now, I'm staying with them for everything in the future. Yeah, we got a really good partnership going.
Yeah. And that's basically everything online. Obviously you're still doing one-on-ones. You're still doing small group when you can.
That being said, so like I have my online training, but then I do also do programming for people. So clients that are, my current clients, but then I also do programming for people, all over the world as well. Just the people that reach out to me on Instagram and they want to, customize program. So I do a decent amount of that, but I have so much in-gym training that it's, it's hard. I'm very selective of what I take for, custom programs.
Yeah. So what would be sort of your picture perfect client for that, doing that programming online? What's sort of the thing that you gravitate towards the most?
Honestly, anybody that I feel is willing to put in the work. Doesn't matter if they have experience with kettlebells, maces, or not. Just anybody that is serious about training, I'm happy to help. So like I wouldn't say I have a certain type of client, just somebody that's willing to put in the work and really willing to show up, honestly. Yeah.
And so then kind of talk me through, is it with like, and so this is for one-on-one, this is online programming, this is, anything and everything. So how do you kind of go about it? Is it teaching a particular tool? Is it tool driven, or is it more like, obviously like I'm sure there's results in there, but okay, this person wants to gain strength or this person wants to lose fat. Are you then, okay, I'm going to teach you some of the techniques of this steel mace or teach you some techniques with this kettlebell. And then these techniques are going to build to give you the volume of work and necessary for you to, achieve the adaptations that you're trying to achieve. How does that kind of walk out?
Yes, definitely. And that really depends from person to person, of course. So let's just say, I actually just signed up a new guy yesterday and he has never done any strength training ever. He's huge into mountain biking, things like that. So he's active, but he's never lifted like a weight in his life. Right. So for him, we just start with the absolute basics. So we do an assessment first to see, how he moves, everything like that. And then we start training very basics on the steel mace, branch off of that, see what he can do, what he can't do, what we need to work on. And then we start with kettlebells and do about the same thing. So just really figure out what they can do, how they can move. Like, can they do a snatch? Are the shoulders open enough? Do they have the stability for it? Do they have the range of motion to do a 360? So it really depends from person to person. So this guy that I started training yesterday, even though he hadn't done weightlifting or anything before, he took to it just like that. A little bit of an older gentleman, almost 60, but like he took to it almost instantly. And that was one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah. And so is there a reason you start with mace and then roll into kettlebells?
I feel for the mace stuff, people are always very interested in it, and like they really want to try the mace stuff because, people have tried kettlebells, correctly or incorrectly in their own gym or whatever. But more often than not, not a lot of people have really used the steel mace. So a lot of people are drawn to that and they're like, I want to try that. So, and then I also find it a little bit more simpler for people because some of the movements, even if it's just like a ballistic curl squat, whatever, it's a little bit of an easier motion to start than if we're doing like kettlebell cleans or anything like that, right? So I feel that I get a really good baseline on how people can move. If they're doing a squat with a 10-pound mace or a lunge with a mace, I feel I can get a really good baseline of what they can do and what they can't do.
Yeah, obviously there's technique involved in the steel mace. Right.
And then there is like high skilled movements with the mace, but rarely do I start off with one of those high skilled moves, Yeah.
Well, I mean, but there's technique involved in like a bodyweight squat or a bodyweight, hinge or something. So it's like, okay, you get to teach these basic body movements and then have a less lethal, dosage of technical prowess necessary, but still technical prowess necessary. But then I love that because the beauty of that is now they're learning their body, they're learning a tool, they're learning 100%. These new ways to move, and then you can graduate them into kettlebell. Yeah, because a clean and a snatch it's not like a clean and a snatch for a barbell, right? It's so different.
Right? Yes.
Right. Yeah, and so to have a ballistic curl under your belt, right? A squat with a ballistic curl, even with a steel mace. And then now you can turn that into kind of a clean. Again, it's going to be still very different, but I could see how that could be an effective way.
Exactly how people are able to move and
and then you start to build on that, build on that movement complexity.
And who knows, like some people just that is more than enough because if they've never trained before, like just doing a ballistic curl or something like that, might be more than enough. And so it really depends from person to person and just what their fitness level is and everything. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So that somebody's been with you a while, right? What's sort of like the kitchens, everything, including the kitchen sink that you throw at, a client that's like kind of wants everything from technique standpoint to a tool standpoint to even a programming and volume standpoint. Like they can handle tons of volume. They're really healthy. They're moving really well. What sort of that end state look like?
Yeah, so like if I have someone that's one guy, for example, he trains in the 4 to 5 times a week. So Monday is usually more of our kettlebell lift day. So we warm up with steel mace work, some light one-hand work, just get the shoulders moving, after we do some mobility. Then we just kind of do heavy snatches. So snatches work up we usually do about 5-6 sets depending on how they're feeling, just get it really moving and then just pyramid up. Sometimes we keep it at 10 reps, depending on how they're doing or what like the strength cycle is. Sometimes we cap it at 5-6 reps, really depends. So that, and then maybe some cleans or swing cleans after that. And then like second day 2 usually is a Tuesday. Then we do a little bit more of like barbell lifts. So either trap bar deadlift, straight bar deadlift, pair that with like a reverse hyperextension, then just a few more accessory things for the lower body. And like the accessory things, like what I always like to have kind of the pillars for the day. So like say day 1 is like snatch, that's like the bread and butter. Day 2 deadlift, and then everything else can be interchangeable, right? So depending on, maybe they're coming in on Monday and they were at the beach all weekend, they're dehydrated, just whatever. So the workouts are really changed on what they need on that day. Because I feel like I've gotten to a really good point where I can read people's body and just even when they walk in the door, I'm like, all right, we're going to kick some ass today, or all right, it's going to be a very chill. We're going to do some mobility today. So yeah, so again, going off topic, but it depends from person to person, but I like to have those pillars in place. So main lift is a snatch one day, next day is a deadlift. Next one, we're doing a little bit more push pull. So doing bench press, dumbbell presses, chin ups, things like that. And then usually the final day, a squat, hip thruster, something along those lines. And then again, just having the accessory motions changed up from week to week, but always having, the pillars in place for each day.
Yeah, I love that because then they can explore different tools, different modalities, as well as different movement patterns. And then with the accessory, you can really juggle in some stuff.
Like people that are training consistently for years, like they don't just want to be doing the exact same exercises week after week after week. People need a little bit of variety, and which I think is great. I think you have to have like those main lifts, whatever they are, in there, and then everything else, you can work around. And I think a good trainer should be able to, still get in all of like the squats, the hinges, presses, do all those, but just in a little bit of a different way from week to week or month to month, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah. So how have you, so now going all the way back to, the time that you were over in, I can't even remember what it was, but training with, George St. Pierre's camp in Montreal. Yeah. So, well, first of all, do you speak French?
I when I was in school, I learned it, but that is long gone. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Because I know that he speaks French. I'm sure the trainer spoke French, right? Like, that's a pretty common theme there.
Yeah, definitely. Montreal is French speaking, but pretty much everyone there is bilingual. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So how far have you started to play jazz with kind of some of the things that you learned there? Or is it still kind of the mainstay, of what you learned, the principles of what you learned, like you're still upholding those, or has it shifted and adjusted?
I think it's evolved so much, for like what we did there. It was a lot of, there was a lot of sled work. There was a lot of medicine balls, and like we do that type of stuff here. But I feel that from just kind of traditional strength and conditioning to a lot more unconventional training, to a lot more kettlebells, a lot more steel mace, things like that. So it's definitely changed a lot. But there's so many crossovers. They might be different tools, but there's a lot of the same principles for everything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So who were some of your teachers or who was your one teacher for steel mace? I'm curious, just personally.
So the first person that I learned properly from, so I did the very first on-it certification that was open to the public. So I believe that was about 6 years ago. Give or take, right? So E6, so he was the first person that I actually physically learned how to do steel mace work, because his section of that certification was steel mace work. So that would have been the first, but I had been playing around with it and been training steel maces for 3 years probably before then. So I worked out a lot of kinks, just kind of trial and error with myself and, training people. But that was the first time I was actually properly trained how to do it, and that was also a very eye-opening experience again. Because, like you train with something for a certain amount of time, you're like, shit, I got this down pat. I know what I'm doing. Then you train with someone who's been doing it longer, somebody who does that professionally. Then you're like, shit, I don't know what I'm doing, And you learn so much when you train with these people that have been doing it longer. And it's, that's what training should be. There's no point where I know this, I am the kettlebell master or guru or whatever people call themselves. You always need to be always learning from, new people who have been doing it longer, or even just putting a different spin on what you've been doing already, right?
Yeah, because I know now so Rick Brown, I think, was one of the OGs, and then there was like TACFit, and they had some OGs or whatever in that realm. And I know Eric was associated with them, then with On It, and is now back with TACFit. But like Rick Brown, that's more like the GATA, old school, like, Indian kind of version of the steel mace. And then you have, right, some of the more maybe mechanically driven and very disciplined sort of movements and patterns, that came from ESIC. And then you have, Leo, who's got this like he has the discipline stuff, but then he also likes to explore around and with flow and things like that too. And to me, I love like looking at all of it. And it's like, man, it's such a wide spectrum of information about this one singular tool, which is like super cool.
For such a, underground tool, there is so many different offsets of it, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So I know you have clients coming in, so I want to make sure that I respect your time. This has been incredible to learn just a little bit about more about you and what it is that you do and what you have to offer all of us out here in the fitness industry and in the fitness market. And I can guarantee that there's going to be people that are going to listen to this and be like, oh man, he is the man. He is the guy that I want to learn from. So Scott, thank you so much. We ask this question of every single one of our guests, and we get all sorts of different answers. And I want to ask you as well before we sign off, what is Living Fit to you? And not the brand, but the concept, the principle,
what is Living Fit? Living Fit, I think, is lifestyle. It is consistency. It is, just showing up. Like Living Fit is, when you're not feeling like training, showing up, putting in the work. Might not be your best workout ever, but show up, put in the reps, little by little, chip away. That is how you get better. Same thing with nutrition, just staying that course, being consistent, getting the macros. It doesn't have to be perfect every single day, but just staying the course, staying consistent. I think that is Living Fit to me. Consistency.
Well, I love it. Yeah, no, I love that. I have, you can't even see them, but I've got books up there, The Tortoise and the Hare, and because the tortoise always wins, right? Because of that consistency and steadiness. So I love that answer. That's awesome, Scott. Thank you so much for hopping on the show, taking your time out to share with us what you have, what you've learned and what you're now teaching and giving to all the people, not only in your facility, but abroad and all over. Thank you so much. Hey, for more interviews like that, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're looking for not only those interviews, but follow along programs, exercise breakdowns, workouts, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for your fitness results, make sure you hop on to Living.Fit, become a member today, and I'll see you on the next one.